Is the latest Mushoku Tensei the best isekai? I think it is, so let's talk about it. What's up, fans of anime? For this video, we're going to be reviewing Mushoku Tensei Season 2 Part 2. So we're going to break it down into 5 categories. We got stories, characters, animation, pacing, and music. So let's start with the story. So the story is just a continuation from the first part, which is Rudeus and Sophie got together. That was like the first major thing that happens. And so what he had to do was get a house.
Like an abandoned house.
Yeah, an abandoned house. And I think the most important thing that happened there was, yes, they got the house, but they also found the schematics for that automaton.
Which I don't think is going to play a role right now.
It didn't play a role, but I think the biggest role that it played was the fact that it gave Nanahoshi the idea of a 3-dimensional magic casting. And then what ends up happening afterwards is Aisha and Norn, Rudeus' sisters, show up afterwards. So,
yeah, the family shows
up. Yeah,
so
this is where I feel like the real meat and the potatoes are, because when both Aisha and Norn showed up, this caused a rift between, more specifically, Rudeus and Norn, because Norn still does not like Rudeus at all. And then the next major thing that happened right after that, like after they showed up, was Rudeus gets a letter from Guy saying, the search for Zenith isn't going fine, send help.
Yeah.
And then this was like the
send
big
help.
This was Rudeus' big ultimatum to make. Should he stay or should he go? And there was a lot of reasons for him to stay, because at this point, Sophie got pregnant. So it was like, okay, he probably should stay. And the man god himself tells him, hey, you should stay because you're gonna regret it. But then I think the reality was he was gonna regret going or not going anyway. So ultimately he did make the decision to go, because
I think this is the first time he disobeyed the man god's choices.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting. I was like, hell yeah, go against this.
And then with the help of Nanahoshi and the teleporting stuff, they make it there in like no time at all. So then they make it there, they meet Paul, they meet the entire gang again, and then they go into the entire labyrinth, and then a lot of bad stuff happens. Roxy's gone missing, and they could not locate Zenith because the teleport engine was so confusing to them. And then the last thing that actually ends up happening was they fight the final boss, the Hydra that's guarding Zenith's crystallized body. And unfortunately, Paul gave his life to save Rudeus. That was like the biggest holy crap thing that happened, because the opening debated me. Because the opening has both Paul and Rudeus like giving each other a fist bump at their house. I'm like, okay, so Paul's gonna live through this, right? He's gonna live through this.
I think that was a metaphor of like at his grave to pass on the torch.
Yeah, so but then Paul dies. He dies in such a gruesome way too. Like not even like a.
It wasn't happy farewell.
It wasn't a happy farewell. Like he just gets his entire lower half gets completely blown off. At the trade-off of losing Paul, they did save Zenith, but unfortunately, Zenith is a potato now. She's a vegetable.
Speechless now.
Yeah. And
I feel like the storyline for this season, it got back to the dark.
Yes.
It got back to the seriousness and drama, which I feel like was needed in this.
I mean, the previous season was also.
I mean, I'm talking about, I guess, like the realism.
In terms of like the adventure
like,
side.
Paul didn't get a farewell death. He just died, which is the realism.
Oh, okay.
Zenith, we all want Zenith to come back like, oh, the happy mama gave, but she's not.
She's not.
She got stuck in this crystal for, I don't know, like 10 years.
A while.
And
yeah, 10 years actually.
When you get stuck in this crystal, you get a side effect, and that's the cause of it. So it's not a happy ending, even though that she got saved. Which I was like, okay, Mushoku Tensei, this is where it usually is. It's like a bittersweet kind of ending kind of thing. And this is, I feel like, why this anime hit it so hard this season right here.
Yeah, and then obviously what happens is they decide to go back home, and at this point in time, Rudeus also decides to make Roxy his second wife. Which,
I didn't like that.
Which Sophie agreed to.
I did not like that. This is why I have a problem with it. I just didn't like how he just like goes to Sophie and is like, I want to make her my second wife.
Yeah.
Please, I'm sorry, I was unfaithful. And then Sophie just accepted it. And I was like, that's too easy. What the f? Like, Norn had a show, I guess a lot of people's anger towards Rudeus. She was like the most mad at it. It was just a weird situation all around. Maybe because they fast forwarded, maybe because the anime sped through it, but that moment between Roxy and Rudeus in this season, it went by quick.
It went by really fast.
And I feel like they developed a bond, and I feel like he just fell in love really quick. Like, it was like a really quick thing compared to like, Sylphie and Rudeus. It took him that whole season to generate that close bond and to finally like feel like they love each other. I know Roxy and Rudeus had like a little love bonding going on throughout the whole show, or like some kind of admiration or a crush. It's just that this happened so quick that, hey, I'm just gonna make you my wife. It was like a quick decision. So that's pretty much the main point of the whole season. That's a story. Now let's move on to characters. Now, obviously, we gotta talk about the main character, Rudeus, man. We gotta talk about his journey. And how did you feel about the decision to marry Sylphie right there? How do you feel about Sylphie as a wife? As a chosen first wife?
I thought that was a good Because
I know some people may have like an affinity, like a wife who and more towards another character.
Okay, so I thought this was the perfect first wife, just because the first person that Rudeus ever talked to in the beginning, and so this was just like they found each other again, they saved each other as well, and then now they're together. So I'm like, okay, I like that a lot.
How'd you feel about Rudeus' action throughout the whole show in terms about like his combat prowess?
Okay, so
Rudeus is supposed to be like a really strong mage right now.
Rudeus, his powers is disappointing me a lot right now because there are so many times and so many flashes to where he shows that he is him, but for some reason when it comes down to a lot of the major crucial parts, he is not him. He saves Roxy in that cave. He freezes all of them. Mind you, Roxy is a king class mage. Yes, she was tired, but at the same time, Rudeus just comes in, freezes the entire room, no problem at all. I'm like, okay, Rudeus does have it in him.
Sup?
He just said, what's up? No, not tired at all. And then he fights the Hydra, and I just felt like he's holding back. I don't know why, but he should be more powerful than this, but he's holding back for some really weird reason. And that's why I'm like super disappointed at Rudeus' powers, because I'm like, I know he's capable of a lot more, but he just doesn't do it.
I think we just give him too much credit.
He shows that he has the ability to do it, so like, it's not that he isn't deserving of all that credit. He is the most capable mage that they ever show, like even more capable than Roxy. And the fact that he underperforms in like the most critical situations like kind of disappoints me a little bit. So let's step away from Rudeus right now and go to his dad, Paul. He did die this season, so I think now would be a fitting time to talk about him just as like a full character and what he's done. And as a whole character, he is a terrible father.
I do not like this character.
He is a terrible father.
Now,
though at the same time,
people do like this character, not because he's the shit. More about how, I guess, his redemption arc a little bit. I guess let me ask you this question. Out of all the things he's done one redeeming thing at the end. He saves Rudeus. Now, does that make up for all the things he's done?
No. I don't think it does.
So then how do you feel about Paul right now?
So the thing about Paul is he's the character that you're supposed to look at and say, he has done a lot of bad things in life and he has tried to redeem himself, but unfortunately his life was cut too short for him to fully redeem himself. The last thing he did do was save Rudeus, which was a good thing, but man, it was too little too late. So like, I can't say that like Paul was a good father because I think Rudeus, he had the knowledge from his previous life, so he was gonna grow to be a pretty okay person anyways, with or without Paul. So it was just like, what were decisions that Paul made, and a lot of them were bad. It's like, hey, you're 8 years old, I'm shipping you off.
Yeah, now, but what do you think of him as a character?
Paul wasn't that important of a character for me, just because when he died, I wasn't happy because he wasn't a piece of shit villain of a character, and I wasn't super sad because he wasn't a nice, sensible person. So when he died, I was just kind of disappointed that he's dead. He doesn't get to redeem himself, that kind of thing, and he doesn't get any more screen time. So that was just like my thought process. I was more sad at the fact that Rudeus finally came to understand the fact that he does recognize him as his dad now,
at the end, yeah.
And he doesn't have him anymore. I was more sad about that rather than
That's
Paul
kind of crazy. He considered Paul as his dad rather than
right
his
after he
actual
died.
dad.
Yeah, right
before his actual dad. His actual family, he's like, I didn't consider them as my parents. And then he didn't care about it. He didn't go to the funeral.
He also didn't care about Paul either up until he died.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. So that's like a moving forward kind of thing, like in terms of Rudeus or the neat growth.
Yeah.
And they also released that episode on Father's Day, which is kind of sad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
that's kind of crazy.
I forgot about that. That was
National Father's Day. They decided to announce Paul's death.
Paul's death. That was crazy.
That's kind of crazy, man.
I can't talk about Paul without talking about his two daughters, Norn and Aisha. More specifically, Norn, because I feel like Aisha in this case, she already likes Rudeus, so she doesn't have that much to grow because she didn't have any, like, there's no turmoil between her and Rudeus. It was more of a turmoil between Norn and Rudeus. So for that first half of the season, Norn had to deal with the fact that what she saw in Rudeus was not what everyone is saying about Rudeus. So she was torn between both images of Rudeus. And so much to the point where she became a shut-in. This is probably the best part of the season, showing the fact that this is how someone becomes a shut-in. This is also how like Rudeus was also one, and he also understands what Norn is going through, and he tries to help her by doing what his brother did to him. And I thought this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I like it when they show like the neat version of Rudeus.
His past.
Yeah, his past in terms of his development towards Rudeus now, and now he has to apply it. I like that. I like it when they do that. So when they actually do show like his brother, how he felt, like how his older brother was trying to help him out, and he put him in his shoes, and now Rudy's like, oh, I know how you feel now. That growth, and then to show that how to help Norn, or even maybe just be there for Norn, not necessarily say anything to her, just be there for her. And then Norn was strong enough to figure out on her own. She was able to overcome like her conflict, something that Rudeus couldn't do in the past. That was like a big, like, oh damn, that's pretty cool, kind of thing. And then so she finally, reconciled with Rudeus, all up until Paul dies, and then Norn's like, I f***ing hate you.
I hate you.
I want my sword, and I'm trying to train. I'm gonna try to kill you with the sword.
I want to beat your ass.
That part kind of made me a little sad when she was crying.
Yeah.
They had a whole maybe like 15 seconds of her crying, which felt real. So to not see your dad for like such a long time and then you found out you're dead. That was like Norn's #1 person in the world, and then he's dead. Now Roxy, how do you feel about Roxy, man?
So we just talked about how Norn became a shut-in. So after Paul died, Rudeus actually went back to being a shut-in again.
Yes.
And the person who saved him in this scenario was Roxy, albeit in like some people might say this is like very
ulterior motive.
Yeah, she naturally
she even said it too.
She had an ulterior motive. So a lot of people might not like the fact that that's what she did. Like she took advantage of Rudeus when he was weak in that situation. I didn't hate this plot point. I thought this was like, okay, cool. So this is Roxy's gonna help him out. At this point, Rudeus is gonna know that he likes Roxy as well, and then they're gonna get married. So for me, this just progressed the plot line, honestly.
I feel like I didn't like the decision that was made between Roxy and Rudeus, but I feel like it had to happen. Rudeus is going down that path again, and it was gonna take another 2 years for him to recover. And as viewers, we don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yes, again, this helped progress the plot.
But how do you feel about Roxy as a waifu? I feel like if Sylvie wasn't in the picture, she would have been a great heroine for Rudeus. She was one of the first lovers shown in the first season. So people are conflicted that Rudeus already has Sylvie. Now Roxy comes in the picture.
Yeah.
If you were to pick one or the other, who would you pick?
Oh, the answer is pretty easy. I'll take Sophie.
Now moving on from the characters to animation. I would have to say the animation, I kind of wish it was just like how it was in season 1. I think the best animation throughout the whole animes was probably season 1, part 1, and mostly part 2.
That's pretty okay.
Where the adventure with Ares and Ruger. It just didn't live up to the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the animation between the Hydra, it just wasn't as crisp. I wasn't amazed, I guess.
Though I will say the art style does hold up still. Like, it's still very much the same.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I think in that department, it's still like the highest quality, but in terms of like the moving bits, the animated
fighting
parts,
part, yeah,
it definitely did take a dip, even in the Hydra fight.
I mean, which is still good. It's just
it's still fine.
I would want it to have it just like how it was back then.
Okay. Oh, and I will touch upon this subject in another category later. Something that I kind of did dislike was they have a proper anime opening now. Because normally in Mushoku Tensei, the intro is usually like a walking segment more for atmosphere and not like let's show what's going on in the anime.
Yeah.
And I really liked that for the previous parts and seasons, but when they went to a more traditional anime opening, I was kind of disappointed. So I'm like, oh man. So that means that I don't necessarily have to watch the opening now unless you like the song.
One thing that I've noticed that I feel like has lost its way, or maybe it's because they don't want to animate it anymore. It's not really an ecchi anime anymore.
It's not. Oh.
And that's how it advertised in season 1.
You know what they did? They got you in with the
like
edgy tag. No. No. You watch season 1. You see the edgy tag. It draws in all the horny people, and then there's like, yo, this is actually good. We stay for the story.
They stay for the story.
So enough talk about the animations. Let's get to the pacing. Now, the only issue that I have with pacing is very much because this is an anime, and I don't think the anime does a good job of explaining the passage of time. I feel like the anime really just skips around a lot. Like, there's that 1 month period of time that they had to take in order to get to the desert place, and then obviously that 1 month to get back. And so probably that 1 month to get back, probably a lot of things happened between Roxy and Rudeus that we just weren't told about. All that we knew was they came back and then they camped and then they had that discussion. So maybe something else had happened because Elena said, yeah, every time I look at Roxy now, she's like really in pain every time she looks at you now. But I'm like, it's only been like 10 minutes in the anime.
Right.
They just are not good at explaining how much time has passed. Like at all.
I think it's the anime thing. It seems like they're speeding through a lot of things. Maybe because they want to finish this Mushoku Tensei story quick. Yeah. Because otherwise it's gonna take like 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah. I guess in saying that, the anime's pacing does feel very fast.
But as far as the pacing, when it comes to the actual anime pacing, I feel like there were some slow parts. Obviously maybe like the first 5 episodes are slow. If you want to talk about the Sylvie and Rudy's wedding, the house part, them finding the robot. I feel like that could have been like some pacing issues because it's mostly about the world building. And if you don't like world building, this is not the season for you. But Mushoku Tensei is about world building. In my opinion, I just felt it was a little slow because the reason why I liked Mushoku Tensei was the adventuring aspect. With like in season 1, part 2. Now in this one, Rudeus didn't get too much development up until the second half, which is when he went to go find Zenith and Paul dying. That was probably the better half of the season. So I felt like that's where this anime shined at, which is the second half, the adventuring part again. Now let's get on to the music. Now the music, I have no opinion about the music. It did not stir me away. I can't quite remember the music too much. That means it was just there. I mean, it wasn't bad at all.
I think just for me, Mushoku Tensei music, I just like it just because it has that very olden style, like flute and string instrument. Like if you just think any fantasy, old school tavern thing, that's the music that Mushoku Tensei always had. So I've always liked the music. The only main issue is, again, I said this before during the animations, the opening. While this anime does have a traditional opening now, I do miss the string and flutes and like the small little choir going on when they're walking through just to build atmosphere, because I felt like a lot of what Mushoku Tensei was, as far as the music was concerned, was atmosphere, and I really liked that. But then they got rid of the intro. I'm like, okay, now I can skip all of that and I don't care about it anymore. So once again, is the latest Mushoku Tensei the best isekai? I still think it is. The story finally reaches its climactic end. I mean, for the entirety of Mushoku Tensei, he was looking for his family that was lost to the mana disaster. He finally found his mom, Zenith, though at the trade-off of losing Paul, but that concludes that entire storyline. So at this point, that entire plot point is now done, and now we gotta look forward to the next one. The animation, while the quality and the fighting scenes did drop a little bit, I still think the overall art style is still bringing it up more than anything else. The pacing was good, though it does have a little bit of speed issues in that the anime is not really good at conveying the passage of time.
Alright, as usual, we are gonna rate Mushoku Tensei Season 2 Part 2 Jobless Reincarnation Harem Style. Alright, now where would you put this? If you don't know, we do rank every anime review that we do. This is where we put it. You probably get mad at us for some of these. And the more left it is, the better it is in our tier list. Now, where would you put Season 2 Part 2?
I like this season a lot, and this is a really good closure to the entire mana disaster arc, so I would put this at A-.
I had a feeling you was gonna put it there.
Right below Jujutsu Kaisen.
He puts it right here.
Yes, at an A-. I would put it right
there.
A
great category.
In great category.
Right before Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes.
In my opinion, I had more fun watching Dungeon Meshi, so I would put it. Ooh, maybe I'll put it right here. I think I would rather watch actually, I don't know. Do I like it more than Demon Slayer Season 3?
I think so I think the question for me was, obviously I was more hyped about watching Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer, but I wasn't watching Mushoku Tensei to be hyped. I was watching it more for its story and world building.
No, it's not. I'm not even based off of hype. I think it was which one would I rather watch it in.
I know, but that's the thing though, like, so yeah, I did have more fun watching Demon Slayer, but I was more interested to watching Mushoku Tensei. That's the way I would say that.
It's tough, man. Okay, it's probably because I didn't like how Mushoku Tensei ended. That's probably why. That's my opinion. I didn't like how Roxy came into play like that. Obviously, the first half of the show, it was just like a little slow moment for me. So I would put it right here.
Okay.
So if you want to average it out, we could put it right here or in front of Dungeon Meshi. Which one you want?
As long as it's above Shangri-La Frontier, that's fine with me, because I feel like Shangri-La is the other like pseudo isekai. So I feel like if it doesn't beat out that, then it's like, how could I say this is the best isekai if it doesn't beat out that?
So this is what happens when you have two people reviewing the anime.
Yeah, we both.
You're gonna be in conflict, so you're gonna have to average it out. So we put it right there, B+, worth the watch, almost eligible for A-.
I would have preferred it to be A-.
minus.
Damn, because I really want people to watch this anime. So that's where we rate Mushoku Tensei. Now there is a season 3 that is announced like literally at the end of the last episode, so we will be getting it. I don't know when we are, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. This is definitely my favorite isekai of all time as of right now.
And I feel like Rudeus is gonna get older, and you've always talked about how you like to see an adult Rudeus.
Yeah.
Because potentially he could cast more spells, which you're probably gonna be disappointed in.
I mean, I was already so I have a friend who's read the entire light novel, and so I just been asking him some basic questions about what I would want Rudeus to do. And unfortunately, what I wanted from Rudeus has been squandered. What I wanted from him was to become a spell sword. Someone who can use both a sword and spell cast at the same time, because he can incantationless cast magic. He has a staff in one hand and a sword in the other hand, and he'll be fighting like that. But my friend told me, no, he's primarily a magic caster. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of sad now, but fine.
But yes, let us know down in the comments below about what y'all think about our review. Is it ass? Are we haters for hating on a great anime?
I'm not hating on it.
Isekai like this.
I said it's the best.
And if you'd like to see more, check out our channel for other anime reviews, discussions, and quizzes. Until next time, thank y'all for watching.